This has got a single point watering system on it, which really it's called a single point, but there's 2 points that you need to water. One for this tray of batteries, one for this tray of batteries. There's a total of 40 cells, 20 in each package, that comprise the battery system. It's got green lights that turn red when that particular cell is running low on water. When it comes to watering the batteries, I recommend having 2 people. You don't want to have 4 or 5 people doing it, because what will happen is the first person will do it, the second person doesn't think the first person did it, the third person doesn't think the second and the first person did it, and the next thing you know, you've got the batteries being watered too much. 4 simple rules with a set of batteries as far as taking care of them. 1, don't overwater the batteries, which means that you're watering them 3-4 times a day. Don't underwater the batteries, which means you're trying to go a year between watering with the batteries. 3, don't overcharge the batteries, which with the new charger, it's going to be a lot more difficult to do that, because it's an opportunity charger, which will allow you to plug it in after every resurface if you want to. I would encourage you not to do that. I would encourage you to just charge the batteries as needed. And then don't undercharge the batteries, which again means you're trying to go a year before you charge the batteries. Obviously, it's not going to happen with the batteries, the other thing that's important is when you are disconnecting them from the charger, always make sure that the charger is off. Okay. If you disconnect the batteries when the charger is running, what's going to happen is, unless you get it perfectly pulled apart, which it's unlikely you're going to be able to do, you're going to get little explosions that take place on these tips, where you have little bits of arcing going on, and that's going to cause the connector tips to pit. And when that happens, it's going to create a situation that's going to make it difficult for getting the transfer of power from the charger to the batteries, as well as from the batteries to the machine. So one thing that's real important is when you are plugging it into your charger, always make sure that you're plugging it into the batteries, and the batteries are on the left-hand side, the machine is on the right-hand side. But it'll usually happen at a facility where we'll get a call within the first couple of weeks, especially if they've never had an electric machine before, where they say, hey, we plugged it in, charged it up all night, and it didn't do anything. And my first question to them is, where did you plug it into? Because if you plug it into the machine side, which is here, you follow the lines, they go down to a junction box on the machine. It's not going to hurt the machine, it's not going to hurt the charger, but it's not going to do anything either. So it's important that whenever you're plugging it in, that you plug it into the charger side, or charger to the batteries. And then when we're connecting it back up, it's just a push in and slide it in. Randy mentioned you guys maybe had an issue with trying to get them pulled apart from the connection here. A little bit of dielectric grease will help that. It'll help lubricate it, and just a little bit of that on the connection tips. It'll help make it slide in and out easier. With the batteries, this has got the Connect system added to it so that you're going to be able to see what kind of energy consumption goes on with the machine each session that the machine's out on the ice. It's going to be important that you take care of watering the batteries. Don't do it more than once a week. You want to charge the batteries within an hour after they've been fully charged. And the reason for that is when the batteries are heated up, it expands the fluid in the batteries, so that it's only going to take the amount of water that it needs to have. Even with the check valve systems on here, if you water the batteries more often than they need to, you're going to take up more. It's going to put in more water than what the batteries need to have, and what's going to end up happening is you're going to see it flowing over the top. It's only got one place it can go, it's up and out the top. So it's real important to don't overwater and don't underwater. Just find that happy spot. And with this, you hook it up to your water supply. Okay, there is, within the manual, you need to read that to make sure that the water flow is the proper pressure, so that it's pushing in at a rate that's going to cause the check valves to shut off. It's just a simple, quick disconnect. I mean, if you guys have done this before, it's a simple process of doing that, and then just a release and out, and then cover the tip up so that it doesn't get any debris inside of it. But this, what you're going to have do is when you hook it up to your water's going to go through here. As the water's going in, these balls are going to spin. When they stop spinning, the water stopped, it's filled up all the cells, and away you go. There are 2 tests that you should be doing on the machine each week. One is measuring the open circuit voltage, and that's done with the multimeter. And there's a positive and a negative cell post. So you'd take the positive probe, put it into you see on these cell caps that they've got a little hole, and you'll get a reading, and they should be about 2.15 per cell. Okay, so you want to measure all 40 cells, and in the manual, well, the digital manual, you'll be able to print out the battery sheet. It's got a pattern of the battery, and you can write down that information. And then the other thing that you're going to need to do, you should be doing, is measuring the specific gravity, and that's done with a hydrometer. This is going to measure, and if you take a look at this, it's kind of like a turkey baster. The mixture that's in here is a mixture of acid and water, and it creates electrolyte. And and we can do this, I can do a cell to show you what it is. If you take a look at these cells, so if you take a look at that, you'll see that little tab that's just on the other side of there. What that's going to do is that's going to lift up, and it's going to create an opening. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to be careful because that's acid. So you need to be careful with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our turkey baster here. We're going to drop that straw down into the cell. Okay, we're going to squeeze, and it's going to draw this up. And this, what we want to do is just get enough in there so that that's going to float. Okay. And where that thermometer floats at, you can kind of see the lines there. It's going to be a little bit tricky to read that, but there's also on the back side of this, you can see the green, the yellow, and the red. When these batteries are at a full state of charge, they're going to be at 1.285. So it's going to be between the 1.28 and the 1.29 on there. Okay, so we draw up enough electrolyte to get that to float. We're going to squeeze it out after we've recorded what information that we've got on there. We're going to make sure we get it all out of there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull this out. Now, what I encourage people to do is do 1 row per week of each tray. So week 1 we do this row, and we do this row. Week 2 we do this row, and we do this row. Week 3, 3rd row. Week 4, 4th row. And that way, over the course of a month, you've sampled all 40 cells. Okay, and a battery doesn't go bad overnight. Okay, it's something that you're going to be able to gradually see. The other thing that you want to do is you want to take a look at the mixture. You notice how this was real clear? If that gets cloudy, or you get particulates that are floating in there, then it's time to take a look at having somebody that's a battery expert come out and take a look at things. Once we're done doing all the cells, what we want to do is have a glass of water. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put the straw down into the glass of water. We're going to draw it up. We're going to shake it around a little bit, and then we're going to squirt it back out. And the reason we want to do that is we want to dilute any of the acid that's on here so that we don't get it on our clothes, we don't get it in our eyes, we don't get it on our hands. I would encourage you to have protective eyewear. I would strongly encourage you to get, at minimum, a portable eye washer. And the reason being is if you get this in your eyes, by the time you run to the front, you're going to have an issue. And they sell rather inexpensive ones that are portable, where you rinse your eye out real quick. They've got other ones that you've got levers to pull that are hooked up to water supplies that are much more complex. Part of why you want to be making sure you're doing your specific gravities on a regular basis is to make sure that if you put the straw down in and you don't get any acid out, you could have a check valve that's not functioning properly. Okay, these can fail. And that's something, again, that you're going to probably want to talk to the people that come out to do the service so that they can check and inspect the cells, make sure that they're watering the cells properly. And when we had watering systems early on, they did not function as well as the new ones do. So it's important, you know, big things, make sure that your water pressure's proper, because if the water pressure isn't running properly, you're going to run into a problem. But these lights are a guide. I like these better. We had some other ones that were rather small. They're like a little LED light that were a lot harder to see. These you can actually see with the dump tank down. As the machine's driving down the ice, I can see that light, what color that is.